Hello, welcome back to Spicy Takes and Tax Breaks. I'm your host, Aubree Denekamp, aka the Write-Off Queen. And today we're diving into one of my favorite topics, travel. Because let's be honest, nothing feels better than hopping on a plane to Miami, Cabo, maybe even New York for business, especially knowing that Uncle Sam is footing the bill. This isn't a theory, it's not a loophole. These are real rules that are written into the tax code. The wealthy have been using them forever, and you're about to learn how to turn your travel into strategy. When it's deductible, how to structure it, and how to mix business with pleasure. Even how to use it to build wealth within your next generation. By the end of this episode, you'll never look at booking a trip the same way again. Here's the spicy truth. It's not cheating. It's not shady. These rules were written to incentivize behavior. The government wants you to hire people, to buy property, build jobs, businesses, invest that money. And when you do, they reward you with tax breaks. When travel is ordinary and necessary for your business, the expenses are deductible. That includes airfare, hotels, meals while you're traveling, rental cars, Uber, Lyft, dry cleaning. There's valet and housekeeping tips that would be included too, even that $16 airport beer that we all love. If it's during business travel, it's absolutely deductible. Think back for a second, okay? How many flights have you booked in this past year or two? Did you see a client at all while you were there? Go up to a mastermind by chance? Networking event? Most business owners just swipe a card and move on. Maybe they mention it at the end of the year to their CPA. But what if that trip could have been fully deductible? The truth is, the main reason that you were traveling was for business. Those flights could already have been working for you, along with most of the expenses. Now, let's think creatively for a second. Did you ever shoot content on a vacation? Maybe a reel or photo shoot? Maybe branded video? If travel is part of your marketing, which then it would be, it is then a legitimate deduction. How many times have you been creating content on the fly without even realizing you were leaving deductions in the dust? I know this because I live it every day. When I went to Hawaii, I wasn't just with my daughter celebrating our life. I was hosting client strategy sessions and capturing content for the Write-Off Queen's release. My trips for different seminars, B&I conventions, maybe even nonprofit galas I've been to recently, those all are documented and they are then structured to qualify. It's not travel, it's strategy. Things that maybe you wouldn't be pushing yourself to do. I'm not special. I know the rules, just like so many others out there, but there's also more that most people overlook. Some of the strategies I use in my own life, you should be using too. The question really here is how many of your past trips could have been deductible if you looked at them through that lens first. Let's go into how this actually is going to work. So 100% deductible is airfare, transport, that could be a rental car, as long as the primary purpose of the trip is business. So a lot of people say, well, what is a primary trip? Like, what does that mean if the primary purpose has to be for business? So we'll break it down. What it really means when I say primary purpose of the trip, it has to be business. The IRS really looks at how you spend your time. If the majority of your days are business related, like you go to a meeting one day, a conference the next, retreat, or do client work, then the trip is considered a business trip, and the transportation costs like airfare are fully deductible. An example would be I fly to New York for a 3-day mastermind or networking event. I decided to add an extra 2 days onto the front just to, go to the spa, maybe see friends, drink some wine and great food. Out of the 5 total days, 3 were business. 2 of them were personal, but the other 3, I did do work things in New York. So my hotel, my meals during those days, they fully count too. So these are things we should be considering before booking any trip. What could I potentially be doing to also be building my business? But let's flip it around. If I spent 5 days in New York shopping and brunching, my travel days would be included. So that would be the day there, which would be flying, day back flying. But if I spend the rest of them doing spa day and I go see one prospective client on one day, that is not deductible. Though while I'm having those client meetings and whatever I was doing to try and make that prospective client an actual client, that would be a business deduction, but we'll go into that later. We'll get into the fun stuff first. So, primary purpose of business. Line up your schedule with the majority of your days that are clearly somehow work-related. That way, when you confidently write the big ticket items off, like your airfare, first class, that's completely fine. You can enjoy your personal time guilt-free. Another thing is lodging. So your Airbnbs, resorts, hotels. When I book a long weekend in Aspen with my team, we do part strategy session, part recharge. The whole thing is deductible. Another one is the meals while you're traveling. Also, we can do registration fees for conferences or tickets, related costs that are associated with it, marketing, branding, networking gear. I've also written off BNI conventions, different learning masterminds, educational courses for my employees, and charity galas when they are doubling as networking too. One of my favorites, though, here, and something I encourage everyone to do if you can, is if Addie comes along for me, only my portion would be deductible if she was just traveling as my daughter or guest. But she's legitimately part of the content. So when I'm shooting things, I'm traveling with her. She is the one in the content that I'm shooting, going up the airport, on the escalator, how it is in baggage claim. So I've created this documentation that ties it back to my business, and it's fully deductible for her then too. So international travel plays a little bit different here. It's really actually really great, but also can be a nuance depending on what you're doing. So a lot of people do freeze up. So this way, the IRS will let me go to Paris or Cabo, but they will actually let us do it, but the rules need to be complied with. So for international travel, the IRS needs to have the 75-25 rule. If you spend at least 75% of the days conducting business outside of the US, the trip qualifies as a business trip. Trips that are longer than 7 days, so for example, if your trip is longer than a week, your personal days must make up at least 25% of the total days for the transportation costs like airfare to be fully deductible. If you spend less than 75% of the trip on business, you can still deduct your airfare, lodging, and meals proportionately to the business days that you were working. But the travel days really do matter here. The day you leave and the day you return both fully count as business days, even if they're short travel days. If you do business in any part of the day, it does count as business. So again, if you're doing something that doesn't consist of the whole day, it is still a business day. Primarily personal use. What that basically means is if the main reason for your trip is personal, none of the transportation to and from the destination should be deductible. Even if you squeeze in one meeting during your trip, that doesn't really work here. However, your lodging, meals, and other expenses that are actually doing any sort of business, that would still be fully deductible. Trips of 7 days or less. If you're outside of the US for 7 consecutive days or fewer, and you have legitimate business purpose for being there, the entire trip is then considered business, even if you mix in most personal activities there. So an example of that would be if you fly abroad for just one business day, the rules shift on depending on how long you go. If the trip, again, is 7 days or fewer, that means departure plus return days count in that 7, the entire airfare is deductible, even if only one of those days is business. So say I fly to Mexico for a 1-day photo shoot, but I stay 6 additional days there for personal time, massages, just having a reset. There would be a total of 7 days with airfare fully deductible, only though the business days or hotel meals would really effectively count unless they're somehow business related. If the trip is longer than 7 days, the 25% rule kicks in. So you'll need at least 75% of the days to deduct the full airfare. Otherwise, you only get to deduct a portion based on what the business days you were there. So for example, you fly to Greece 1 day for business, but you also spend 9 days vacationing. That's a total of 10 days. So you would only get 10% of that deduction for your business. You deduct the portion of expenses there, but airfare would not be fully deductible. This is why I tell clients, structure your tips smartly. If you can book a couple of extra business meetings or plan your trip to keep it within 7 days, you unlock a huge tax savings. You should be doing this too. There's so many other creative travel write-off tips, but you could take your team to a spa weekend, document the agenda, meetings, whatever the outcome is, that's fully deductible. Traveling for a photo shoot for your brand, deductible. Yes, even if it's something glamorous. If you travel to sponsorships or to attend or host a gala, that's fully deductible. I do this a lot personally with my nonprofit clients. Remember the perks here too. First class, resort fees, business lounges, these are all deductible if tied to travel. The IRS does not care if you're in coach or sipping champagne in seat 2A. So really book as you want. Another great one here is going to be points and miles. If you're strategic with the credit card points earned from business spend, you can book free flights or upgrades, and you still deduct the taxes and all the fees. So really, again, how are we going to do this right? Keep in mind, documentation is going to be everything. This is for any sense of an audit or what could potentially come with the IRS. We want to keep an itinerary, agenda. I honestly do all of mine within my calendar. It keeps it easy. I don't have to have tons of paperwork anywhere, and it's all in one place by date. Searchable too. Intent does matter here. If you book your meetings with potential clients, attend conferences or networking events, and keep proof of it, then you're completely fine. You are fully able to do this. Don't push the envelope though. If you want to have fun, you should be. You should absolutely take advantage of this too. But be smart. Don't just be using this willy-nilly and making, I don't know, no business element and calling it business when you're going to Aruba every other weekend on a cruise. Cruises actually are going to be in a next topic, but we're putting that also in a freebie below, which we'll get to too. Here's why this matters though. Travel isn't just fun. It should be fun, but it's also branding. It's networking. It's growth for your business. And if you're doing it anyways, why wouldn't you structure it so it can be a legitimate business deduction? Or get yourself out there to be doing more of it while you're enjoying growing your business when you ordinarily might not be traveling. The wealthy don't feel guilty about doing this. They don't second guess it. They don't just use the rules that exist or what they've heard of on TikTok. You should actually understand what the rules are. So we're going to keep going here, but we're going to drop a freebie until next time in the one below. So the next time you're booking a flight, don't just think about where you're going. Think about how to make it a strategy. If you want a full breakdown, I put together our free travel deduction guide. It covers what counts, what doesn't, how to document it, and you can grab it from the link below. Don't forget, hit follow, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who loves to travel as much as they love saving on their taxes. I'm Aubree, the Write-Off Queen, and this has been Spicy Takes and Tax Breaks. Until next time, remember, keeping receipts is compliance, creating wealth is strategy.